and welcome to the book links, write links, story links, lots of links in our organisation to our Australia Reads short story competition event. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we meet today and recognise that this land has always been under their custodianship. I am on the land of the Jagera, Yagara and Yugaral people. If you want to, you could write into the chat room the country that you are on. I pay my respects to elders past and present. Today, we will be listening to some of the best stories submitted to the StoryLink short story competition for years 4 to 6 students in 2020. I'm going to introduce you to Maria Parenti, who is a wonderful reader and a wonderful writer and a wonderful teacher. So over to you, Maria.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, book links, story links, write links. Congratulations on all the people who entered the competition, and the shortlist is the one that I've read. So I hope you enjoy it, but I tell you what, I was very impressed, and I've been teaching for over 20 years in the primary school sector. So very impressed. Keep up your writing, all of you. I was so excited to be able to read your wonderful stories. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Jenny.
Hope by Aaron Ding. The stench of desperation and hopelessness drifts through the air.
Just increase the volume.
Through the crowd, melting
please.
Through the people. Gloom lurks where there is fear, and darkness lurks where there is no hope left. That is exactly where he is, among refugees who've lost their homes and their families, who've had their lives taken away from them, who subsist in these filthy tents with little food and contaminated water. Gloom takes lives away. Gloom darkens even the darkest alleyways. There's little hope left in the camp, just like it's always been. An 8-year-old boy stands in the middle of the throng, dark rings under his eyes. He holds a bag of rotten fruit, weakly shouting, "Apples, apples, apples for some food." Gloom bathes in the fear, the hopelessness. It's been here since the start, since the massive red ship teeming with starving people left a land of explosions and blood, where guns were fired and houses burnt alight, with people still inside. Since it set off from the bay, bullets still puncturing its hull. Since it sailed across the sea, hunger and sickness driving the inhabitants mad. He'd been there, watching that same little boy standing in the square right now on the overcrowded ship. Somebody had stolen his belongings and food. He had no comforting arms to surround him. His parents had been one of thousands of people who'd perished in this unforgiving war. He'd been curled up the cold metal floor as rain poured onto the crush of bodies. Gloom had relished the fear that emanated out of him. And then the ship had fallen, already taking the force of hundreds of bodies crushed on top of it. It had sunk, collapsing on its side. The boy had seen babies drown, mothers wail. Gloom was there watching the boy face horrors that would make even the most heartless warlords shake. The authorities had saved some from a watery death, but led the refugees into an even worse fate in the punishing camp. The boy is yelling now, "Apples, apples." No one pays attention to him. Their eyes are all empty and dark with misery. Survival is the only thing on their mind. Food is scarce in this wasteland, a wasteland of half-baked refugee tents lying in the blistering sun of violence and screams. 2 soldiers drag a screaming girl from the dust, through the dust. Her face is cut and bruised, legs dangling behind her. Onlookers watch, helpless. Her fate is one of the many prisons that surround the camp, places of misery and death. Gloom knows the moment she steps through the facility, she'll most likely never see the light of day. Then for the first time in years, Gloom feels pain as he stands next to this boy. The boy yells in anger, another pure emotion, not fear, not gloom, but anger. The soldiers yell out in surprise. Passers-by watch as the boy struggles with 2 men. One of them pulls out his handgun and fires a bullet, heading somewhere in the crowd. Someone falters and falls on the road. Taking her chance, the girl runs into the throng, escaping, but the boy has no chance. The fight goes on. Punches are thrown, yells echo in the air. But after years of hunger and starvation, the boy is weak. He's easily overpowered and taken down. He is now It is now him who's tied with a rope being dragged along the dusty road, yields to the strong grip of the unrelenting men heading towards the facility. Gloom watches. There's an unexplained urge to follow the boy, even though this is regular in this unrelentless camp. Even though onlookers dismiss the violence as a normal occurrence, he follows the boy. It's just as he remembered it, dark, desolate, distraught. The front of the prison looms over the boy, a sinister face frowning down on the oppressed populace. The towering plaster walls house are marked with bullet holes and house disease-infected rats. The boy is pushed into the camp, dirty cell. There is no window, just a company of rats and flies. A flimsy piece of cotton lies on the other side. Someone has tried unsuccessfully to make a decent bed to sleep on. The boy starts crying. Tears flow from his cheeks. Words are torn from him. Words about a mother and father he didn't know. Words about a life that he was not blessed with. Words of unrelenting hopelessness. The tears drop on the floor and make small puddles among the dust and sand. For some unknown reason, Gloom feels an ache in his heart. He runs out of The refugees walk around him, unnoticing, still fearful, still hopeless, but now they have a purposeful stride in their wake, a slight lift of their chin. Gloom doesn't know why, but it pains him, an excruciating pain he's never felt before. Someone walking along the street hands a bottle of clean-looking water to a beggar sitting on the side of the path. Suddenly, a sharp burst of pain hits Gloom. That bottle of water was a rare miracle in the camp. Why would someone do that? He staggers into the dusty road in agony. Gloom groans in pain, and for the first time in years, the beggar smiles. It's a smile of 1,000 memories, depicting a family, a happy life that he once had before. Suddenly, the dusty, dirty path looks lighter. The lantern hanging on a tent flickers that little bit brighter. A sharp pain hits Gloom's heart. Somehow or some way, the boy gains his freedom. Gloom watches, his breath heaving in and out in short, rasping gasps as the boy walks out of the cell, dark rings under his eyes. The boy's eyes adjust to the moonlight. The street is eerily empty. There's no one there. The soldiers throw the boy onto the street, laughing. Your disgusting friends aren't going to help you now. They're all gone, one of them cackles. The road should be packed with people right now, except it's not. A boy hobbles along the path. He sees tents empty, lanterns flickering off. They've abandoned him to the soldiers, just like they always have. The fear of despair swamps him. Tears tears him apart. He sobs until he hears the music. It's a folk song, one of his home country, a distinct little tune playing along to the soft thrumming of the guitar. It was then when he realized there was light glimmering in the distance. And was that singing? Gloom walked with the boy through the mass of tents. A barrel of oil was burning softly in the moonlight. Someone had tied pieces of coloured cloth together to create a string of glowing lanterns. The market square where the boy had only days ago exchanged his fruit for bread was lit up with dancing figures and a man strumming his guitar. People were smiling and chanting around the camp, around the square. The refugee faces were weary but lit up, hopeful. The boy emerged into the dance, an agonized gloom following him. Eyes looked towards him, then cheering laughter, a sweet drink that one of the refugees has created, being a skillful winemaker in his home country. The girl and the boy had rescued, offers her a hand. Then they are off dancing, twirling in the moonlight. Fear, despair, it's all gone, replaced with this. Suddenly, Gloom's heart cracks open. He yells in agony. Something is ripping at Gloom's chest and putting it back together again. Gloom ducks into a nearby alleyway, unseen by the people dancing in the square. A new light emanates from gloom. His cloak disappears. His face is unmasked. Gloom gasps. The sound of music and chatter drifts through the air. The figures stride through the throng, watching people laughing, smiling, joking. Hope dances where there is light and darkness, fear, but joy. That is exactly where he is, among refugees who've regained their families in this small community, who've had their lives taken away from them but regained. Hope takes lives away and rebuilds them. Hope brightens the darkest alleyways. There's always been hope, but it's just been waiting to show itself. A boy stands in the middle of the throng, dark rings under his eyes. He holds a bag of the best fruit he could find, boldly shouting, "Apples! Apples!" Hope smiles. It's a new beginning. Hope by Aaron Ding. The stench of desperation and hopelessness drifts through the air. The hooded figures stride through the crowd, melting through the ragged people.
Sorry, I'm
Gloom lurks where there is fear and darkness, lurks where there is no hope left. That is exactly where he is among...
Okay. So that was Aaron Ding. Is Aaron Ding on here at the moment by any chance? Aaron's not here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're AD. Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, do you want to just briefly tell us how, are you able to say how old you are and where you are?
I'm 11 years old and currently we're at the Gold Coast
Okay.
on the beach. Yeah.
At the Gold Coast on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you were also listed in the highly commended as well as the shortlist.
Yeah, my other story, the Willow Tree. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful, Aaron. Right. We'll go on to the next one. It's Leonard Cavallaro with Gratitude. Let's.
Gratitude by Leonardo Cavallaro. Gratitude. How I hated that word. We'd spent the past 2 hours listening to members of the class blabber on relentlessly about gratitude and what it means to them. Sam's voice cut through my thoughts as he concludes his presentation with something about how he visits his grandmother every Saturday or some other nonsense. There is muted applause from the tired class while Mrs. Willer ushers him back to his seat, thanking him for a truly sincere and humbling presentation. I was next. She was not going to like what I had to say about this beloved gratitude. It is so unfair. I share my opinion about gratitude, and where does it get me? Detention. 2 whole months. I sulk silently, knowing how I will possibly survive this 2 whole months of this torture. After a few minutes, I walk over to the window. I look outside, take a deep breath to calm myself. It really is a beautiful day. The school lawn glimmers, tiny crystal-like droplets sparkle on each blade of grass. The trees sway softly in the wind, and I can hear birds excitedly calling out to one another. The sky is clear, clouds slowly drifting to one side, leaving the sky behind. Just like my father left me. I bite back tears and slowly slump to the floor. I lie there, sobbing softly, wondering why he left me all alone, without anyone to turn to. Some time later, there's a knocking at the door. "Hello, it's me, Sam," the person says. I turn my head to look at the entrance. I do not want anyone to see me like this. "Go away," I say, in my voice shaking as I try to hold back my sobs. The knocking stops, and I resume my self-pity, stewing over what I had done wrong that made my father leave. Then the door creaks open, and I hear soft footsteps. My eyes remain closed as I lie there, hoping that they will get bored and leave me alone. After what feels like hours, must have been only minutes, I cannot take it anymore. "What?" I shout, louder than I expected. Sam looks startled and just stares at me in confusion. I continue, quieter than before. "Why are you hanging around me?" "I'm just being a much-needed friend, he replies simply. I look at him in annoyance, as if this is probably some good deed quota or other ridiculous helpers act thing. Yeah, well, thanks, but no thanks. I'm doing just fine, I say. You count spending your lunches crying and avoiding anyone who tries to spend time with you as fine, he asks. I look at him in anger. Now he went too far. You know what? I tell him. Maybe I'm not sunshine and rainbows as the rest of you, but that doesn't mean I need little do-gooders hanging around trying to fix me. He stares at me in shock and sadness. I feel unhappy as I watch him walk away, but I push down that feeling and I tell myself it's for the best. He wouldn't want me as a friend, not once he got to know me. The next day, I fake being sick. My Aunt Becky is angry as she has to take time off work to be at home with me. But I just can't bear to see Sam, to look into those accusing eyes. I manage to keep up the ruse for another day before she sends me to school. I groan and moan to buy myself one more day, but it is in vain. She has made up her mind. No amount of trickery is going to help me now. I managed to avoid Sam at first break and all through lessons, but at lunch, I'm trapped. Sitting in the office, serving out my detention time. I hear a soft knocking. This time, I ignore it, desperate to prolong the inevitable. The door creaks open as Sam walks in. I turn away. Please, leave me alone, I beg him quietly. There is silence before I hear him walk away. Slowly, I begin to realize what I've done. He has turned away the one person who took the time to try and know him, to try to understand me. I had insulted him, told him I didn't need his help, but the truth, as I did, I needed a friend. Sprinting out of the room, I knew what I had to do. I had to find Sam. I run down the maze like corridors, looking left and right in search of Sam. Nothing. When I reach the exit to the eating stop, I stop. Sam! I shout as I spot him heading down the stairs. He stops, looks back to stare at me. I start to tell him before sighing. Look, I'm lonely. I shouldn't have pushed you away. It's just, well, I'm trying to say, I'm sorry, Sam. I smile at him weakly. He doesn't move or reply. I'm not surprised. How could I have thought that after everything I had done for Sam, would still want to be my friend? I was a fool to get my hopes up. Then I see Sam smile at me. Maybe there is hope for our friendship yet. 2 months later, I'm the happiest I've ever been in a long time. I've gotten better at thinking about my dad since then. I have begun to tell Sam about what happened. We are the best of friends now. It is great to finally have someone to talk to. We hang out at lunches and nearly every afternoon. I've learned more about Becky and now we help each other with our grief over Dad. I'm lucky to have such a good friend at home with a caring aunt. I have so much to be grateful for. I finally understand what gratitude truly means. Gratitude by Leonardo Cavallaro.
Well done, Leonardo. Are you there, Leonardo, that you can come in and say a quick hi? Just show us who you are. No? Maybe not. Oh, hi, Leonardo. Wonderful writing. Thank you so much for that story. Good to see the face. Where are you, Leonardo, and how old are you?
I'm Leonard, and I'm in Brisbane.
Leonard. Sorry, not Leonardo. Leonard. You're in Brisbane, and how old are you?
I'm 12.
12.
And I'm
Okay.
in grade 6.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll go on to the next one, which is by Sarah Allen, The Cookie That Could.
The Cookie That Could by Sarah Allen. Ah! Gotchfinger screamed as he was picked up from the cookie jar. He wriggled and squirmed, attempting to free himself from the child's grip. All the other biscuits ran and yelled, trying to get away from the little girl. 3 days had passed since the tragic loss of Scotch, and everyone's spirits were low. Arnott, the troublesome Ice Bobo, had taken this opportunity to sneak into the pantry, which was normally forbidden to all. Kingston, the leader of the cookies, had put this rule into place to stop the dreaded tiny teddies from escaping and overrunning the cookie jar. The giant door creaked as Arnott pulled it open, walked inside. He searched the pantry and quickly found what he was looking for. "There it is," whispered Arnott, running towards the colourful packaging of tiny teddies. Panting, he heaved the bag into the big cylindrical cookie jar. Then he popped it. "Attack!" yelled a small brown bear, sprinting to the middle of the jar, closely followed by more little bears. The tiny teddies were chasing the biscuits with broken shards of chocolate, while the biscuits frantically ran in all directions. Uselessly, Kingston shouted, "Everybody, please remain calm. I'm sure we can figure this out." The jar was in ruins. All the cookies had valiantly fought until they drove out tiny teddies, but at the cost of losing some of their best biscuits. Arnott had mysteriously disappeared during the fight, and Kingston was starting to get suspicious that he had something to do with all of this. Surreptitiously, Arnott climbed back into the cookie jar, only to find Kingston waiting for him. "Arnott!" Arnott was in Kingston's office, sitting nervously behind his desk. "First, it was the boiling chocolate, which you just happened to pour on my best friend," said Kingston. Arnott interrupted. "Yep, but..." "No, Arnott, I don't want to hear it. Next, it was the time you deliberately set fire to my favourite pants while they were on me, I might add. After that, you put everyone in peril by poisoning berries in their food. And now this, even I thought you wouldn't think this low, really setting our sworn enemies loose in our home. You know what this means." "No, not the milk," panicked Arnott. "Yes, Arnott, it means the milk." The milk was the worst form of torture existing to cookies. If you were unlucky enough to have to go through it, you got dipped in a cold glass of milk, head first, repeatedly. You only got released when your leader thought you had been taught a lesson or when you gave away useful information. Arnott had been warned several times if he caused any more serious damage, he would have to face this horrible torture. "I'll be seeing you in the torture chambers tomorrow at 7:45 a.m. sharp. And if you're not there or anywhere in the jar, I'll know about it." Arnott puzzled over these last words, but decided not to worry about it. Anyway, he had far more pressing matters on his hands now, like what he was going to do tomorrow. He didn't dare run away, not with Kingston's last statement, so he decided to go to the torture chambers and talk his way out of trouble. It was 7:40 a.m. and Arnott was running towards the small secret staircase that led to the underground chambers. Once he was down the stairs, he cautiously looked around and saw a glass, at least 2 times taller than him, with a pulley system hanging above it. "I've been expecting you." Kingston's low voice rang through the room as he walked out of what was seemingly solid wall. Arnott jumped in fright, startled by Kingston's sudden appearance. "Monte Carlo, come here." Shuddering, Arnott shuffled backwards, trying to get as far away as possible from the new cookie as he could. "Arnott, I'd like you to meet my friend Monte Carlo. He's going to have the pleasure of torturing you today. Well, now that we're all here, I guess we should get to it." Arnott was hanging upside down above the glass of milk, shaking from head to toe. "Are you ready, Arnott?" said Kingston. "On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. On 3, Monte Carlo let go of the rope as he was holding, and Arnott was plunged into the milk. A few seconds passed when Kingston ordered for him to be brought back up. After the 3rd dunk, Arnott cried, "Please let me go. I'm too young to die." "Not until you've learnt a lesson, boy," replied Kingston. Then to Monte Carlo, he said, "Keep him under for longer this time." Arnott was held down for 10 seconds, and when he was pulled up, he panted for air, but was immediately dunked again. He was dipped 4 more times when he asked, "Why are you doing this, Kingston?" "Because I needed to distract you." "What? You need to distract me? What do you mean?" "I mean that right now every other biscuit is in the human school lunchboxes, waiting to be eaten." "I knew you couldn't be around, otherwise you'd have to set up some scorpions loose or something to stop my plan. With you here, I managed to get everyone to follow me by saying we were going to the zoo." "Huh. But that's just plain evil," said Arnott. "Why would you want to send people who you care about and have fought for you and defended you to their deaths?" "You think I actually care about them?" "No. To me, they are mere servants. You get in the way of my plans." "What plans?" "Oh, just my plan to become the evilest mastermind this world has ever known. First, I will join up with the tiny teddies and build an army. Then I will take over one cookie jar at a time." Arnott was shocked and was still trying to take in what he heard. Splash! He was dropped back into the milk. That was when Arnott caught a glimpse of something silver and shiny at the bottom of the glass. He reached out for it, but it was too far away. Arnott tried again and just managed to get a hold of the handle of a sharp dagger. As he was getting pulled up out of the horrible milk, Arnott sliced the rope tied to his ankle and swam to the edge of the cup. He was halfway up the stairs before Kingston realized what was happening. "Seize him!" Kingston bellowed to Monte Carlo, but Arnott was already sprinting towards the exit to the cookie jar. Once he was outside on the ginormous marble bench, Arnott ran towards the pink, blue, and green lunchboxes. "Help! Help!" Arnott heard muffled crying from inside the blue box as he was scrambling towards it. He felt someone grab him and yank him back. "Stop right there," said a menacing voice. As Arnott slowly turned around, he saw the towering figure of Monte Carlo. Arnott's head was racing. He was trying to think of a way to get Monte Carlo to stop taking him back to the cookie jar, because at that moment, Monte Carlo threw Arnott over his shoulder and started walking back towards Kingston. Unexpectedly, Arnott asked, "Why are you doing this?" "Oh, I don't know," shrugged Monte Carlo. "Because Kingston told me, I guess. You don't really want to do this." "I don't care." "Well, I'm just saying that Kingston is planning on all of your friends and family being eaten." "So you're saying that I should go against Kingston and set everybody free?" "Yes, that is what I'm saying. But I know I can't make up your mind for you." As they were about to enter the cookie jar, Monte Carlo mumbled, "Fine, I'll help you." "What did you say?" teased Arnott jokingly. "I didn't quite hear you." "I said I'll help you." "Great, then let's get going." And with that, they set back towards the lunchboxes. Arnott was tugging at the silver zipper as big as his head while saying, "It's all right, we're going to get you out." Through the tiny gap he had made, once Arnott managed to make a hole just big enough to squeeze through, Monte Carlo gave some very unpleasant news. "Arnott," he screamed, "the little humans are coming to get the lunchboxes." With one massive heave, Arnott made an opening big enough to crawl through and yelled, "Quick, everyone get out! The kids are coming!" And with that, they escaped from the evil Kingston and the dreaded lunchboxes. The Cookie That Could by Sarah Allen.
Let me know if you win a prize.
And is Sarah there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, lovely, Sarah. Okay, tell us, Sarah, how old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
Okay, and where do you live?
In Brisbane.
Okay, so far all local people. That's wonderful. All right, so we'll go on to the next one, Matilda Rogers with the pumpkin puzzle. And I have in my notes that Matilda is 11 years old and that she is from Victoria, Essendon, Victoria. I'm sure I saw Matilda in the attendees before. If you just want to show us your face, Matilda, turn on the volume while I get the next video prepped.
Hi, my name's Matilda.
The pumpkin puzzle.
Okay, we're ready, Matilda. I shall start sharing this.
The Pumpkin Puzzle by Matilda Rogers. George stormed upstairs, recalling the recent argument with his mother about his... Still fuming, George flopped down on his bed in a hopeless sort of way, contemplating how he's ever going to be a detective. He wanted to prove her wrong and, more importantly, proclaim himself right. So tomorrow he would march up to the front desk of the Amateur Detective Centre and demand the case. But what if? No, he wouldn't think about it. He would face that problem when he came to it. And with that comforting thought, he drifted off into sleep's welcoming hands. The next morning, George set out for the Amateur Detective Centre. He reached the front desk and the only mystery available was a rather vague case about a missing pumpkin. No way, I'm not doing that, never. Are you sure there isn't another case? George pleaded. The bespectacled lady pushed her glasses further up her nose before answering, either take it or leave it. George begrudgingly took the file and grumbled something unintelligible before leaving the lady to her next customer. George left the detective centre. He decided to think things over in a place where there was 0% chance his family might stroll in. His life wouldn't be worth living if he violated his mum's rule. He crossed the street and found the perfect place, a fruit smoothie shop. His parents hated vegetables and fruit and anything healthy. George slumped down at the table, a missing pumpkin. He could solve that with his eyes closed, but maybe the mystery was bigger than it seemed. Farmer Charlie, a cheery voice floated through the air to where Charlie was tending to his pumpkins. Charlie looked over his shoulder and spotted a tall young man striding confidently towards him. Charlie, I'm George. Farmer Charlie felt a stab of excitement. Finally, someone was going to sort out the business of his lovely pumpkin. Absent-mindedly, he stroked the pumpkin he was watering. I'm Charlie. You're going to get my pumpkin back? Charlie studied the man before him. He looked young, but also like he knew his business. The farmer realised he had wandered off from the conversation. Take me to the scene of the crime. I would be much obliged, finished George. Yeah, right this way, Charlie said, leading the way. George studied the dark patch where the pumpkin had been. He also spotted footprints edged in the mud. Charlie, have you been near this area since the theft? No, I haven't had a chance. Interesting, George mused. Interesting indeed. Well, do you have any idea who might have done this? Well, Augustus down the road, his pumpkins are unfit to eat, but somehow he has entered a whopper of a pumpkin in the festival. I think I have a plan. To bring this pumpkin snatcher to justice. What is it? Oh, you know me, George grinned. No, I don't. I just met you, quipped Charlie. You'll see, but I'll require a few things. Tell me again, why do we need all this? The farmer asked, indicating the metal parts assembled into a pumpkin shape. To catch the thief. He will think it's a pumpkin and steal it. You will have the evidence we need, and yes, don't give me that look, we will get your precious pumpkin back. Charlie hastily arranged his face into an innocent look. But couldn't we just trap him? He could claim that he had lost his way and we unfairly caught him. Pass the cloth, please. The two men set to work covering the metal with orange cloth. There was no time for idle chit-chat. At the end, George went to hide the camera in a fake tomato. Finally, they were ready to catch the thief. Farmer Augustus was walking back from the market when he saw it. The pumpkin. Whoa, that's a beauty. I need that to win the $500 at the festival. Too bad I'll have to steal it, he said with no remorse. That night he returned and lugged the pumpkin away to his home. The camera caught everything. And the winner is Farmer Augustus, the announcer shouted. Augustus strolled up onto the stage, a smirk plastered on his face. He owned the podium. Suddenly, a film began to play on a huge screen behind the stage. The footage was of Farmer Augustus stealing the pumpkin. After the clip had ended, there was an outbreak of outraged roars. George walked calmly onto the stage and signalled for silence. Farmer Augustus, you are to hand back the pumpkin you stole. That is now a police matter and you are automatically disqualified from the competition. And that means the rightful winner is Farmer Charlie, the announcer yelled. Charlie appeared on the stage looking quite flustered. He was handed the trophy and $500 prize money. Good Detective George, please stand up here, the announcer said. George appeared on the stage looking nonplussed. Because of your outstanding work, you're now the official overseer of this event, making sure no one cheats ever again, and we bestow upon you a lifetime supply of pumpkins. I wonder what my mum will think now. George thought, I'm officially a detective and we'll be having a lovely, healthy pumpkin soup for the rest of our lives.
Right. That was lovely, Matilda. Very good writing. There are some amazing stories here. We only have one more to go, and this is The Mysterious Pen by Chrissy. I'm not sure if the last name is Chrissy. Oh, Chrissy's, I can see you there, Chrissy. Are you Zhang? Is that you? Okay. Chrissy, how old are you and where are you from?
I'm 10 years old and I'm from
where?
Singapore.
Singapore! We've got a Singapore entry in here. I didn't know that. Okay, that's wonderful. I know that there are some international schools over there that have been participating. Is that what you're at, an international school?
No.
No? What school are you at? Just a normal everyday school in Singapore? Yeah.
Ironside State School in Brisbane.
Oh, you're at Ironside State School.
Yeah.
So you are in Brisbane, you're just originally from Singapore. Okay, I've got it. I thought it was a bit odd having an overseas entry. I just didn't have all those details here with me. Okay, let's see if I can get your story.
Mysterious Pen.
Ready to run. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can do this.
Mysterious Pen by Chrissy Zhang. Jack always hated writing, and guess what? He got a writing homework about writing a narrative. He sat there tapping his red pen with cars on it. How he hated that pen, always treating it with disrespect. Unbelievable. Please stop tapping me. It's getting really annoying, said the red pen. Who said that? Jack asked. I did, answered the pen. Jack was astonished to find the pen had been answering all this time and nearly fell off his seat. Now, what are you working on? Asked Pen, but no answer came. It's rude not to reply, said the pen after a long pause. I'm working on a narrative for English, Jack said. I can help you. Let's get started then. Who's your main character and the bad person? Asked the pen. The main character is going to be called James, and he has dark blue hair, and he always wears a lime green cap on it to hide it. Good thinking. Where'd you get this imagination from? Asked the pen. Well, my friend has blue hair and it's super cool, replied Jack. It's always nice to rely on your friends for a story, answered Pen. So what's the beginning like? Asked the excited Pen, because it's its first time helping someone. The beginning is James has blue hair and it's natural. People think his hair is really cool, but he thinks the exact opposite. The school bully Giant, but his real name is Ginnet because he's so enormous and tall, even his breath is huge. But on the other side, James is really small. Wow, you have a lot of imagination, said Pen. Thanks, said Jack. Keep going, said Pen. Giant then steals the green cap and runs away with it. James is so frustrated about it that he's glad that the bell rang for going back in class. He hurries in and immediately took a seat in the back row. Everyone's staring at him, but actually they're staring at Giant and laughing at him for having such a tiny cap. I can't think of anything to write right now. Before I was writing so much, and now I can't think of anything, said Jack. Writer's block, replied Pen. Writer's block? What's that? Asked Jack. A writer's block is where a writer has trouble thinking of what to write. Now, what I want you to do is to think where you are working and keep thinking, and then you'll defeat it, replied the pen. Jack thought long and hard. But finally, I know what I'm going to write, shouted Jack with a leap of joy in his heart. Well then, what are you writing about? Asked the pen curiously. I'm writing about that James asked the teacher what to do, and the teacher said you should confront Zhang about it. James slightly nods his head and walks away, replied Jack proudly. Wonderful imagination, applauded the pen with happy tears in his eyes. Jack beamed at the pen. Okay, enough with the tears, said Jack. Never mind about the tears. They just happen normally. So what's next? Asked the pen. Then James didn't have the courage to face the giant, so he put on a ginormous pom-pom hat that his grandmother gave him last summer. Everyone kept yelling at him because they couldn't see the whiteboard. In the end, James takes off his pom-pom hat, and he didn't like the class one single bit. How was that? It's fantastic, cried the pen. You really have skills to become a writer, don't you think? Anyway, continue with the story. James was stuck on it for 2 weeks. One day he got the courage and was determined to get his lime green hat back. Oh, yes, I love this part. It's the climax of the story, cried the excited pen. It's where the most intensive and exciting part of the story is. It's my favorite part, said the pen. Continue on. James caught Giant standing on a 700-kilogram dark oak brown table in the school cafeteria. James then climbs on the table and snatches the lime green cap off his head. And guess what he reveals? Giant's hair is dyed green. James was astonished. But then the giant says he likes James' hair, and he tried to cover up using James' cap because he thinks everyone will laugh at him. Giant then invites James to sit with him at lunch as a way of saying sorry, but then James tells him that his blue hair is natural, and the giant says, that's the coolest thing ever, said Jack proudly. This is a wonderful story, cried Pen. But remember, if you have more troubles with writing, ask me, replied the pen. And in a second, it said no more. This is the best pen I've ever used, said Jack. And from then on, the red pen with the cars had become his best, most favourite pen.
Wonderful. Okay, now let's go to the exciting part where we're going to announce a little bit about who the winners are. Hello, Kat. Okay, the shortlist and highly commended list are on the website storylinks.booklinks.org.au. The winning story is Gratitude by Leonard Cavallaro. Look at that happy face, Leonard. Congratulations, Leonard. The story will be published on the StoryLinks website, and when we do, we will be adding a special illustration that has been done by, how do I find it? I'm going to share this with you so that you can see it. We had Lachlan Cray create an illustration, especially for your story. And can you see that, Leonard? Hope everyone can see it. Yep, okay. So
that looks great.
Does that look great?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was specially drawn by a real live illustrator who lives down the Gold Coast. And when we publish your story online, we'll add that illustration to it. Did you want to have a quick word before we go on?
Just congratulations to everyone who did it. Like, I loved just before listening to all the stories. That was so cool.
Okay.
And
Great.
yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Lena. So StoryLinks is a division of BookLinks, and today we also announced that the BookLinks, WriteLinks, StoryLinks websites have been redesigned. So please visit them and see what we have to offer. Recordings of Australia Reads events will be added to the BookLinks website under the Events tab in the menu. Information about the 2021 competition will appear on the StoryLinks section. Please note that there will be an earlier closing date next year, 17th of September, and a shorter word length with a maximum of 1,000 words. With around 300 entries this year, it was a lot of words for our volunteer judges to read. Also, note that short stories should not be divided into chapters. This was a common problem. Overall, the standard of entries was high, with imaginative ideas and enjoyable to read. Even if you didn't make it to the top group, we encourage you all to keep writing. Like anything, the more you do something, the better you get at it. I'd like to thank our experienced judges for the time they've put into the competition and the young writers for entering. For those interested, our judges have been CBCA Book of the Year Award judges. So being shortlisted or highly recommended is great praise indeed coming from them. Certificates will be sent to you shortly for the winner, the shortlisted and the highly commended.